Alright guys, the Championship rumour mill is really starting to heat up now, and we are back with another episode of the Championship transfer rumour round that we've got plenty to discuss and digest in today's video. Obviously, the transfer window is now officially open, so we are going to start seeing several deals rolling through. As always, if you do go and enjoy, make sure to leave a like. Do get any other rumours that we don't mention in today's video in the comments down below. But without any further ado, let's hop into them. And we'll start out with the Semenyo news, because we've had even more developments on this one since we last spoke about it. Now, Bournemouth's interest in Bristol City Semenyo has been quite long-standing. This one stretches back to at least the summer, where I think they had a big knockback then. They've had further advances knocked back by Bristol City since we last went ahead and recorded. Now, Semenyo is one of the best up-and-coming players in the Championship, 22 years old, obviously featured at the World Cup for Ghana as well, which would have only gone ahead and boosted his profile. And so far this season, well, he's not quite hit the same sort of consistency with the numbers that he's produced. Still looks like a very lively player, you know, 4 goals, 2 assists. Last season was his best season up until this point, with 8 goals and 12 assists, and it's understandable why a side like Bournemouth would be interested in his services, particularly with how well Bournemouth have invested into the Championship over the last couple of years. You know, they've had great success with Marcus Tavernier, for example, in the summer transfer window going back to January, and how they poached some of the top players from the Championship as well. It does seem as if Bristol City are holding out for a big offer, a bigger offer I should say, to come in if they were to be tempted to sell. Semenyo's current deal at Ashton Gate runs until the end of the season, although the club does have the option of extending that by a further year. And it's not just Semenyo that could be off from Bristol City. His youngster Alex Scott has also been linked with a move to Bournemouth. Once again, their interest in the 19-year-old, understandable. He's been one of Bristol City's more consistent players this season in what has been a pretty turgid year for them up until this point. Now, Bournemouth could go ahead and properly test the waters here by going in for a double deal for both of those players. How much Bristol City would actually want for them, we'll have to go ahead and wait and see. But Bournemouth clearly interested in doing business for this one. The links have been long-standing, and we've had even more advances on that since. And it does seem as if Hull City have an agreement in place to go ahead and take Crystal Palace youngster Malcolm Ebbie away on loan for the rest of the season. When you guys are watching this, you'll probably have more updates on this than me, as I do have to record these videos in advance, but this one would be a really good deal for Hull. There have been several other Championship clubs who have been interested in tying him down for the season, Blackburn Rovers especially, pricking up their interest over the last couple of days, but it seems as if Hull have swung this one, probably primarily because of Liam Rossini and his already established relationship with Ebbie away, with the pair working together at Derby. Honestly, I'm a massive fan of him. Thought he was absolutely fantastic last time round in the Championship for Derby. I go back to when I went to Derby away, and I thought he put an absolute show against us in that game. Brilliant left foot, not had all too many opportunities at Palace this season, but I think could absolutely thrive in that whole squad, and certainly in the Championship. And speaking of tricky wingers who could be making their return to the Championship, it also seems as if Josh Bowler could be heading back to Bloomfield Road for the rest of the season. Now, Nottingham Forest obviously got that deal over the line in the summer transfer window. They then went ahead and decided to loan him to Olympiacos, and since moving over to Greece, he's not had all too many first team opportunities. As of recording right now, it does seem as if Forest will be recalling him, and their most likely transfer stance on Bowler is to send him on loan to Blackpool for the rest of the season. That will be an absolutely massive boost to Blackpool's survival chances. Don't get me wrong, there's still plenty of other positions that I think Blackpool are in desperate need of patching up. I think their midfield needs work, need an experienced defender to come into that squad as well, but Josh Bowler was undoubtedly their best player last season and was one of the outstanding wingers in the Championship. You know, he's by far the best dribbler in the league from last season. What also adds to this story is the fact that Wolves have gone ahead and recalled Corbinu, who was on loan at Blackpool, so that's gone ahead and opened up another loan spot for Blackpool to bring someone in the January window. That will be some acquisition for the rest of the season, and like I said, would be a massive booster to their survival chances. Both Rotherham and West Brom are looking into a deal for Huddersfield town midfielder John Russell, who has fallen down the pecking order at Huddersfield over these last couple of months. Going off Fotheringham's comments, it would seem as if he's willing to sanction that move for Russell in the January window. It will be interesting to see which of these clubs goes ahead and gets the deal over the line. Obviously, two sides who are fighting for very different things as things stand. The West Brom link makes sense. sense by way of Carlos Corberán previously working with the player, had his best spell at Huddersfield under Corberán and has just sort of fallen out of favour under the new manager this season. And since we last did the video, we've also had some more developments on the Daniel Barlaser story. It would seem as if Middlesbrough are now readying an offer for the Rotherham midfielder who is out of contract at the end of the season. So Rotherham in a little bit of an awkward situation here. For me, Barlaser, probably their best player, certainly most complete, the guy who runs things from the middle. And should they lose him, that is an absolute huge gap to go ahead and plug up in the January window when Rotherham themselves are already working on a tight budget. In terms of Middlesbrough, the signing I think makes sense. Really like the look of Barlaser, who's obviously fantastic in League One, but I think he's cut the mustard in the Championship this season as well. And with Carrick keen on adding some more reinforcements into that midfield, particularly someone like Barlaser, who's comfortable at breaking lines, picking the ball up in deep positions, and would generally be a nice fit into the sort of style of play that they're going for. I think this would do things quite equally actually in terms of strengthening Middlesbrough but really weakening Rotherham in the process. We spoke last time on the Ryan Porteous interest from several Championship clubs. The likes of Stoke City, Sunderland, Millwall, Watford, West Brom, Norwich have all seemed interested in the Hibs defender, and now Udinese also entering the mix. Lee Johnson had some quite interesting words to say on this one. Obviously the defender's contract is coming to an end at the end of this season. He was quite downbeat really by the fact that the club hadn't offered him a new contract sooner, with him departing either at the end of that contract or in the January window. It's just a case of where. And the Ross Stewart interest is continuing to intensify. Tony Mowbray's had his say on it in press conferences, and I'm sure that he's going to be bombarded by a bunch of questions for the rest of January if his situation remains up in the air. Brentford have been the latest club to reportedly enter the race and declare an interest in the Sunderland forward, who has been absolutely prolific in the Championship this season. 9 starts, 9 goals. How many goals would he be on had he not picked up that injury? He's been that good this season. You know, I think he'd be, by far and away the Championship's top scorer had he not been out for so long. But Sunderland have got a balancing act to sort of weigh up here. Yes, he is probably their best player, and especially with Sims departing, with Everton recalling him, they are looking a little bit light in those forward areas and already are probably in need of adding another body or two into that position. And should they lose Stewart, that would go ahead and seriously derail their potential top 6 push. However, if a gigantic bid was to come in, with the way he's playing at the moment, that could be feasible. They need to have that future planning in place that should that bid come in, they've got other targets in mind to go ahead and replace him with. He's got 18 months left on his deal at Sunderland as things stand, but it would take a massive offer to get him out of there. And the news that I was dreading, but Middlesbrough now seem to be in advanced talks and they're becoming increasingly more confident of landing a loan deal for Cameron Archer for the remainder of the season. Obviously, myself as a Preston fan, I have been holding out some hope that maybe we could manage to wangle a deal for him, given our, established relationship with Archer already, how much he enjoyed being at Deepdale last season and the goals he scored. But Middlesbrough have much more of a pull about them this season than Preston do, there's no doubt about that. Working with Michael Carrick for a project that's very exciting at the moment, a team who is currently in the top 6 and is gunning for promotion, and also has the financial backing to cover a little bit more in terms of a potential loan fee and a bigger chunk of his wages as well. Middlesbrough are already going really well in the Championship, but going off the players they're being linked to at the moment, these guys could seriously take them up another notch. The goals that Akpom's scoring at the moment, if that's supplemented by a striker as clinical as Archer for the rest of the season, there's plenty of goals to be had there in that Middlesbrough side. But yeah, as a Preston fan, I would be gutted. Speaking of Michael Preston North End, we are said to be interested in a loan move for Newcastle United's Elliot Anderson. Now, should Newcastle make him available for a loan for the remainder of the season, I'm sure there'll be plenty more clubs than just Preston who were interested in this one. But Preston have been the latest club to be linked with the move for the Newcastle youngster. Did exceptionally well out on loan last season with Bristol Rovers, 7 goals, 6 assists, and he spent so far this season in and around the first team, continuing to develop under Eddie Howe in at Newcastle. A loan move out to the Championship would seem like the natural next progression in his development, and dare I say it, the sort of player that Preston are lacking really in terms of having a little bit of creativity from midfield, and actually goals coming from our midfield. It's been a real problem for us so far this season. You know, the likes of Alan Brown and Daniel Johnson haven't really chipped in with the goals that we're accustomed to them doing. So yeah, a sign like Elliot Anderson would be fantastic, but Preston won't be alone in their interest there. And it also seems like a loan move out to the Championship could be on the cards for Aaron Connolly. He spent the first half of the season on loan in Italy, but that loan move hasn't really gone to plan. Even looking back on his last loan spell at Middlesbrough, I don't think he quite had the impact there that he was hoping, the Middlesbrough fans were hoping, and in the end, that one sort of just dwindled out. Just scored 2 goals across his 20 appearances. But Hull are reportedly ready to go ahead and snap him up should Brighton make him available. And it looks like there could be a battle between Sunderland and Burnley for Nottingham Forest striker Sam Surridge, who could be made available for a loan deal for the rest of the season. He's quite an interesting one, Surridge. He's been around the block, obviously, broke through at Bournemouth, we saw a little bit of him at Swansea, then had that quite big money move over to Stoke, which didn't really work out, but then Forest picked him up and he really did quite well there in the Championship for them, scoring 7 goals in the second half of that promotion season. So far this season, he's not had all too many opportunities, 10 matches in the Premier League, but 9 of those appearances coming off the bench, and he's only played 168 minutes of league football this season, and so a loan move would make sense. From Sunderland's perspective, I think this one makes total sense, with them having lost Sims, potentially, you know, rumblings over Stewart. They'll want to go ahead and keep tabs on that one. They need another number 9, and I think someone like Surridge probably fits the profile actually as the type of player that they're after. For Burnley, I think they're just looking to go ahead and bolster that squad. It's already looking, I think, healthy enough for promotion, but they want to continue strengthening while they are on top and not get complacent, and someone like Surridge would add another, you know, 6-7 goals into that side for the rest of the season. And finishing off with a little bit of Burnley news, Bournemouth have been linked to plenty of Championship players at the moment, another one of them being Burnley's Josh Brownhill. Now, you'd imagine with the position that Burnley are in the Championship at the moment, it would take an absolutely monumental offer to go ahead and sway Brownhill away from Burnley, but Bournemouth certainly have the funds to go ahead and do so in the Premier League. They're looking to bolster their options in a bid to go ahead and maintain their Premier League status, and Brownhill is a player with, you know, quite a bit of Premier League experience behind him. We spoke recently about how Burnley have transitioned Brownhill this season into, you know, a lot of the work he was doing off the ball in the Premier League compared to the more technical role that company's playing him in this season, but he is a very adaptable midfielder, and I can understand why Bournemouth would be interested, but yeah, Burnley not going to want to let him go on the cheap. But guys, there we have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video of the Championship transfer rumour roundup. As always, any other rumours that you've seen going around, make sure to get them in the comments down below. Thank you very much for tuning in today though, guys. If you did go on to enjoy, make sure to leave a like and do stick around and subscribe for some regular Championship content. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.